Hello and good morning from Norway. And where we are now, Eugene? You are in Netherlands?
I'm in the Netherlands, in Utrecht.
Okay. Welcome back. Welcome again to Diversity is the Game Changer. He's a very good friend of mine. I'm very privileged to host you here. Eugene Scholten. Have I pronounced correctly?
I'll buy it. It's fantastic.
Albeit. Okay. And the title of our podcast today, Leading Change Through People, Purpose and Inclusion. I hope you will buy that too.
Okay.
So, hey everyone,
We'll
welcome
do our
back.
best.
The podcast where we explore how embracing diversity, inclusion, and human difference can transform the way we live, lead, and connect.
Hmm.
I'm your host, Valeria Hjertnes, and today I'm truly honored to welcome a remarkable guest, a global leader who embodies the spirit of transformation and purposeful leadership. So Eugene is an entrepreneur, CEO with more than 30 years of international experience. We cannot believe that. You look so young, probably you started from kindergarten,
Thank you.
leading across continents and industries, from multinational companies to private equity and family businesses.
Hmm.
He steered companies through transformation, innovation, and sustainable growth across a wide portfolio of food categories, from
Hmm.
biscuits, snacks, and coffee to sushi, fish, and plant-based products. But beyond his impressive career, what defines
Hmm.
Eugene most is his deep belief in people and the beauty of their diversity. He's a change agent, resilient, energetic, and authentic. Believe me, I experienced that. Who builds bridges between strategy and humanity. He leads with heart, creating shared visions, developing teams, driving change that matters for business, people, and for the planet. He's lived and worked in the UK, the Netherlands, and Australia, leading global teams and initiatives across cultures. So his story is one of growth, courage, and purpose. A true example of what leadership looks like when diversity becomes not just a value but a way of life. So, Jean, it's such a pleasure to have you here today. So, again, welcome to Diversity is the Game Changer.
Thank you,
Uh,
Valeria. Good to
I'm
be
going to
here.
buy all that.
It's a lot, isn't it? Yeah, but it sounds familiar, and
It sounds familiar. Yeah, for
sounds
me,
like it sounds like a lifetime.
yes. And I could experience so many of that. So, I can be a lifetime proof for that. So, and let's, both me and you be actually futurists and parts of Embassy of the Future, but we have barely can have future and presence without our past, without our seeds. There is no tree
Hmm.
without seeds, right? It should break through the soil. So let's, before we jump in the future and present, we jump a little bit backwards and we start with your childhood and its impact on your grown-up life and your adulthood mindset. So let's start from the very beginning. And, we often talk that our early experience shape who we are
Hmm.
today. And can you
Yeah.
please then walk us through a little bit and take us a little bit back? What parts of your upbringing and childhood and maybe youth you
Yeah.
believe most influence actually on the person and leader who you have become today? Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for that question, and great to be here. And I think it's true. I believe in that. If you don't understand where you come from, you don't know where you're heading towards. And so I've done that exercise a few times to go back and say what has really made me who I am. And for me, it's like, see, the first thought I have about me being a child is playfulness. I'm the youngest of four. I was 6 years behind my next brother, and I have two other brothers, 8 years and 10 years older. So I was the present to my mum in a way, and she treated me like that. And I think in those days, if they would have had labels, I would have had one in terms of being always busy. And I think she thinking about this podcast, Valeria, and I thought that she's probably a role example for me, that she didn't want to put me into a box. She allowed me to do what I liked to do and what I was good to do best. And that means that I didn't go to kindergarten because she
Oh,
thought it was better that I played. And what I did, and that was basically my first, whatever, let's say 18 years, and even a dream for me as well. Well, I was playing soccer most of the time, always playing soccer, and didn't go to school until I was became 6, clearly. And I thought that was a great insight from her already then, that she thought that I wouldn't be happy at school, and I wasn't. And so I have this playful child in me, and that's a relation to my mom, I guess. And she was very much into relations and making sure that you're happy and do what you want. And the other side of me, which came gradually over time, was my father. And my father is more a critical guy, and that's partly driven by the fact that he had a motor accident when my oldest brother was born. So he had open brain surgery the day that my brother was born. So just to give you a little bit of pressure in that family those days. And and I wasn't aware in the beginning. I was probably protected by my mom, but gradually, as I grow up, I started to feel the pressure from my father. And he was quite, because of his accident and the way that shaped his life. He
Mm-hmm.
became more. He got more fear,
Mm-hmm.
and he was more cautious about his choices, more cautious in terms of making sure that he had the right education to get the income for the family, take care of them, rather than perhaps be a bit more independent and play around and do whatever he liked to do. So he is the serious side, and I've got both of them in me, and that have shaped me. And if I look at the way I lead teams and I lead businesses, and to give an answer to that question, that's probably um, I've gone through a phase where, when I grew up, I gradually um, listened to my father more and more. I
Mm-hmm.
gave up soccer. I gave up my big dreams of becoming a pro star, uh, because he thought it was better to move another path, and I followed. And then he always said to me, he's not alive anymore, but he always said, when I was making career, so to say, he said, that was the right choice, wasn't it? And I said, well, it didn't feel right. I said, I
Mm-hmm.
know what the outcome is, but I miss my soccer, in a way. So it was a hard hat type of thing. And when I came older, and when I had my first experience in terms of self development, I started to realize more and more where I came from,
Mm-hmm.
but also that I had to give more space to my child,
Mm-hmm.
my little child, my playfulness, in order to be really um, uh, true to myself, but also to be true to my talents. So I think, in terms of neurodiversity, I think dad tried to put me in a box, where
Mm-hmm.
mom was clear that I didn't fit in the box. I had my own
Mm-hmm.
talents. And over the years, I'm trying to get out of that box, to basically say, hey, this is my makeup, this is my talent, and if I'm really close to what I feel, then I'm at my best. And but it's been a journey in that way.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing this story. First of all, very beautiful. Understand that your mother, she was so courageous, actually, not to put you in this box, not to feel the mainstream path, and not to give you to
Mm,
kindergarten. Because first of all, let's applause to this great woman, because
mm,
being a mother and having a child all the time, I do know that, and maybe you also know, it's a
mm,
tremendous part of job.
yeah,
It's not that easy how it sounds, and I do believe you were a very energetic boy, so you kept her busy all the time as well.
yeah, yeah.
So well, let's applause to your mother, and of course, it's beautiful for me to understand that you were taking care of very caring parents, and
Mm,
it was so much how I can sense like love and attention, which
mm,
I do believe every kid can experience. It was not my story, unfortunately. So I'm so happy all the time to experience and be a witness to a person who could have so supportive parents, and you also could experience like balance. Let's put it like this: it's always we try to seek this golden middle or balance on harmony, and because of those special not competing but complementary things which you could actually get from your parents, I believe
Yeah.
it can give you so much preparedness for the wicked problems of this life, when you sometimes really should use your
Mm.
playfulness, and sometimes you should
Yeah.
maybe step a little bit back and be
Yeah.
more old-minded, just reflective, right, as your father. So thank you so much for sharing your story, really beautiful. And
Mm.
then actually you already touched about the diversity and neurodiversity. It will be the next or the last part of our conversation. It's the emerging part of diversity. And first maybe we can talk a little bit about more widespread part of diversity. It's actually, now we know it's like backlash DI, everybody not can almost pronounce that, especially US, but actually I'm not on this path that we can be afraid of some labels. We are actually different. It's about biodiversity, about neurodiversity, but also first of all it's about diversity of thoughts, right? We
No.
are all created different, like our fingertips. Why we should be actually behaving and thinking and perceiving this world in the same way, it's kind of nonsense for
Mm.
me. So, and I also know that you do appreciate diversity of mindset. So um, about creative, like inclusive environments in teams, in
Yeah.
communities, you have been experiencing leading and
Mm.
living in so many different countries. So you have led teams and
Mm.
companies across even continents, Europe,
Yeah.
Australia, and beyond. So you've seen how actually really diverse minds can drive innovation. I do hope so. So how do you see diversity
Sure.
of thoughts playing a role in both business success and actually personal growth? Thank you.
Yeah. No, I think that's for me that has started to become more and more aware, because what I just mentioned about my childhood is something I became more and more aware when I looked back when I was probably beginning 30, and I worked at Sarah Lee Douwe and they gave me the opportunity to go to a leadership course. And within that leadership course in IMD Lausanne, they looked 10 days to me. So basically, where do I come from? How do I interconnect with people? How do I lead? 360 degrees type of thing. Everything about me. Very scary in a way,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to be very vulnerable. But once you're vulnerable, then I started to understand, then you can grow. So I started. That's where I picked up the concept of self-development, I think. But also in that arena, I started to understand that rather than I had a skill, clearly I had a lot of energy always, and as you mentioned, and um, I always was looking for the next thing, and I was always going ahead. I was always leading at the front. I was taking people along, and by a lot of energy and clearly some good thoughts in terms I could visualize certain things. I could make them happen at the same time and bring people along. But what Lausanne taught me is that it's good also to be quiet
Mm-hmm.
and to listen and to observe. And that's probably where, if I look back, that's where I started to observe more and be aware of other talent more. And basically understand that rather than me being in the front, I could play different roles, but I could also look at other people and see what they had to add and what their needs were. And that was, for me, that was a major, major change.
Mm-hmm.
Not only professional, but also privately, because that's where my wife still says today. That's where our relationship deepened, changed, and that was, at the end of the day, it all had to do but me realizing and respecting the talent of others, and in a different way. And that's and since then I probably have been able to um, lead different, and yes, because I'm very much aware. I think if you ask people around, I say I probably have been by nature already, but since then I'm aware that I'm completely non-judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a starting point to give people the respect, and to be, everybody on this planet has something to add. That's why they're here. And it's, for me as a leader, it's up to me to find out what it is. how they thrive, and how I can put them in positions to the best, to get the best out of themselves, as well as to contribute most to whatever we want to achieve. But you need to be quiet to observe and listen to spot that. And I think that yeah, and if you bring that together, and it's not only innovation, but it's also it's collaboration. But sometimes it's just by putting somebody in a quiet room, or because he likes to be in a quiet room, not having any noise, to focus on a certain task. Then you can put people on the best of their abilities, and to deliver what makes them most happy. So I think that's where my conscious link to diversity, so to say, happened. And yeah, and I think of I trap in the fall now and then, where I think, oh shit, step back and have a look what's happening here. Get too excited about going forward, and when I step back and we make changes or discuss things, and then suddenly it starts to flow again, and then you think, oh, that's because people are not all the same, and that's the general thing. But you have to realize it, and it has to you have to act to it. You have to take a break for it. You have to, otherwise you just miss it.
Wow. I do appreciate so much. What a deep and impactful reflection. First of all, thank you so much for sharing your own personal story. It's how you have started actually from self-development, and it has impacted both your personal life and your life within the family. And for me, it was so important as well, to understand for myself again and again that actually any type of change or impact we are doing in everyday's life and we want to do, we should be aware that if you want to change life, so many people want to change life, but they don't want to change themselves. And everything should start actually from changing
So
self, right? And self
yeah.
development. And first of all, then you should really face who you are. You should
Mm.
make your own map who you are. And like you
Yeah.
have brilliantly mentioned, it's so scary task, but without facing that, without, it's very challenging, it's true, but you can face some challenges, right? But actually without awareness that you have to face these challenges, you have no opportunity to change something. And then you
Mm.
should be aware about your inner voice, what actually is going on inside you, because we are living this present world of noisiness,
Yeah.
constantly noisiness, right? We try to put even more noise to distract
Mm.
ourselves even more, and we try to listen and change something. It doesn't happen like that.
Mm.
So I'm happy to understand that actually you started from conscious approach, of self development, and then it's so important sometimes really to step back and give the arena to first of all your own voice and then to another people, and to be
Mm.
present listener, because I'm myself sometimes, not sometimes, but actually, especially with the beginning of my podcast, I was not good listener at all. And I
Mm.
have this problem still, and I'm working on that. But again, without facing this challenge, like really openly, honestly with myself, I could not be able to work with that. So,
Mm.
and I'm,
That's it.
I understand more and more to lead people, it's the same how to actually change, impact their life, influence their life. But to
Mm.
be able to do that, you should really create, as my opinion, a very safe environment, right, to be
Yeah.
themselves. So my next question then actually about that, um, how do you believe while leading these multicultural teams or diversity teams, how actually leaders should or can make create more safe, inclusive spaces, environments where actually like every voice can truly believe that his or
Yeah.
her voice counts?
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I think what you mentioned, Valeria, in terms of it starts with self, is important. So I think you can only be a good leader if you lead yourself. And I think that just to add a little bit to that, and if you allow me to give two examples, what I've done and what helped me, is because I think it starts already with, I say, listening as a key thing, but also listening to self. Because I have in my head everything, all kinds of voices are happening. And what I've done a coaching education, and what I got out of that, which was interesting, is in order to lead others or to coach others, you have to be quiet yourself. Otherwise, it disturbs the process. And there was an exercise which where they basically asked the question, say, what type of voices are happening in your head? And
Mm-hmm.
it was a little exercise, but very powerful for me because it helped me to calm down and to have dialogue inside
Mm-hmm.
with myself and to listen to, for instance, I've labeled those voices in my that I hear. It's not spooky. It's just, it happens to everybody, I believe. And
Absolutely.
Cheryl Carter Scott is the was our coaching instructor, very famous American coachee. She written a few books, and one of them is "Who's Driving Your Bus?" And this is basically how you do this exercise, and you basically listen to what's driving inside, and what determines what you do at the end of the day. And like, I have a voice which is my critical father. I have a voice which is my playful child. I have a voice which I introduce, which is my old bookkeeper and my CFO in Australia, who basically tells me, just look at the numbers. And
Mm-hmm.
I've got a few voices within me, and that helps me. And why is that relevant? Because if you do that, you're able to slow down, be quiet, and be fully present also when you look at other things. And the
Mm-hmm.
second thing I would like to share with you, just as an example, maybe a little bit inspiration, is that learning will never stop. So I trap in the fall now and then where I thought, oh, wait, what's happening? Go inside, check. But also, and that also happened with me as a parent, because you talk about professional life, but uh, maybe sometimes even bigger. You talked about family, having a child, or having, I've got three kids. It can be also difficult with kids. And I've got my youngest son, I've got two girls and one son. And my youngest son was struggling enormously at school. And he was very talented, also a soccer player. And I was, if I look backwards, I was almost my dad basically saying, wow, I'll give you now the opportunity, go playing. But he also had a level of nervousness. He was anxious about quite a few things. So instead of peaking in his talent, he basically froze and he dropped out. And he
Mm-hmm.
dropped out of school 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And to me as a father, I was that was very difficult time because at the beginning, the only thing you try to do is basically get him back into the box, get
Yeah.
him back on the trail, on the rails, and um, and eventually, and it's funny, this is an example which to me, despite my self-development, just happened because you're almost, I don't know, you come into a different flow and you start because it's almost like I have to save this one, bring him
Mm-hmm.
back on the rails. And if I now look backwards and they say, at a certain stage, we found the time to breathe and look at ourselves and say what's happening here, and we determined, and I say we as me and my wife,
Mm-hmm.
and we determined that we have to give him the space to become himself and to
Mm-hmm.
allow him the freedom, as my mom did to me, to find his own path and stand behind him and support him and coach him rather than to lead him strongly towards a box. And I'm giving you the example because I think that was so powerful. Because since then he found his own path. He's not. He hasn't gone to school anymore. Well, he finished the school, but
Mm-hmm.
then now he's traveling. He's got a girlfriend in the UK. He's living in Cornwall. He's found his own path. He's a surfer. He's extremely happy. And to me, that's at the end of the day, I think that's another big lesson outside professional life, where you very close to me, dear to my heart, where you see that if you listen and observe and support in the right way, people will find their own path. I'm convinced everybody will find their own path as long as they have. I think you make the word as you create a safe space
Mm-hmm.
Because I think before that, even we didn't create safe space, but it was you have to go to school because
Mm-hmm.
that's our norm. Stupid in a way. But now it was like you have to be happy. We always said, by the way, you have to be happy. Sometimes go for your happiness, and we support you. Tell us what you need. And in fact, that's the same thing uh, at work. At the end of the day, so if we think that we can put people in boxes, just boxes, it's not going to work. We have to have the dialogue. Going back to your question, we have to find space to create dialogue to understand what drives them and to work out how they can add best contribution to the business. But most important, be happy. And I think what should leaders do? What do I try to do? Try to have those conversations as much as I can, work out where that space is. And I think by just sharing your own examples,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that in itself creates safe space. Me being vulnerable helps others to get into that space as well and open up and have dialogue about how they feel, where they come from, what they need, etc. So I think that that's to me is an important lesson for leaders. You will you will only get the best out of, it's not even your people, it's people whatever, if you know yourself, get into that process of self-development and continue to learn about that, be vulnerable, and create that safe space and dialogue, and then magic can happen.
Wow, what a
More magic can.
beautiful and wow, powerful story. Thank you so much. I more than appreciate that you have shared this particular this story because
Mm.
I can reflect, I can refer, I can understand when a parent addressing the story about child, not just not I don't say justify, no, I'm like it's not like justify, but especially
Mm.
personal story. It's
Yeah,
first of all it says so much about you being like so vulnerable, and I know it's so personal for us. It's always so sensitive because for me it is the same story of my kid. I have adopted two kids from Ukraine, and they have
mm.
special characters and special needs due to a lot of prehistory of their lives. But from the very beginning, I had to approach my parentship so consciously, because before you making this choice and adopting the kids, and you know some kind of prehistory of maybe genetics, so you already should understand pretty much that it's not like it's not the typical, even if you know that genetics or not, like this it
Mm.
was academics, or you know. And especially I made in Soviet, so everybody believed, and I was put in this mold and shape that, oh, you have to go to university, you have to do this, you have to, and all this have to, it was like similarly
Yeah,
that happiness. But I have experienced so much. I have two master degree now, I'm almost close to PhD um, defense. And in my life it was never actually experienced nearly that all that really determined my happiness. And I understood very early actually these boxes and these patterns and this almost kind of jail stuff. It doesn't
yeah,
function for everybody, and that's
yeah,
why I always say to my kids, and they also even now they have chosen different path, and one go to special schools without any grades, because
yeah,
and she's more into actually animals and agriculture, and
yeah,
she's happy all the time. And then we try also to emphasize her strengths instead of actually to put any kind of molds and watching her happiness. And I
yeah,
think the same, um, like you mentioned brilliantly, it's dialogue, it's communication, it's actually this great awareness that we are all came here with our calling, our mission, and we have to complete each other, not to compete and not to follow each other paths, because why you should be like anybody else? Everybody else already taken. You should be
yeah,
yourself, right?
yeah,
So I'm so grateful that you have shared this story. I hope it can be so nice role model story, because
Mm.
You know, actually, you and me both, we have been participating in the first council embassy of the future, where the theme was the power of storytelling, right? And
Yeah,
every
true.
single story is beautiful and
Yeah,
impactful because it's so actually diversified, and
yeah,
it's how we can impact each other. It's how we should embrace and encourage our kids, especially now when they have
mm,
so much noise from social media, and all the social media try to really put them in one direction, or why mainstream, or why propaganda. It's craziness. It's like
mm,
it's like the so dangerous epoch when everybody tried to steal your authenticity. Everybody really put you
yeah,
in like, you cannot be like this, you have to do that, and that, all these flash
yeah,
mobs, all this stuff, like
yeah.
so I'm so happy that
Yeah,
you and
that's
your
that's
wife.
that's a big challenge, even bigger these days. To how do you find the space to stay true to your inner child? And that's because there's so much blur around it these days, and so much power lifting you, or whatever, or trying to pull you in whatever type of direction, as you say. So I think it's a little while ago I had a little manifest written down, and one of the things I would like to achieve, and it's
Hmm.
just a dream, but it would be so great if we give kids already at young age tools that they can protect themselves in their true pureness,
Hmm.
uh, from everything which is happening after they become 10, 12, 14, go to school, go through life. Because the more they are able to stay connected to who they are, and their feeling, I think the more happier they will be. Because otherwise it's conditioned in different ways, which is,
Hmm.
you. I believe one day you could walk into a wall because you've lost yourself. I've seen many examples. We see depressions, etc., big numbers. But I think it's all related to that we are driven by other things than ourselves.
Absolutely. It's like every evening when we are actually have the opportunity, we try to reflect with our kids. And my daughter, she came recently and said, "Mom, you know, we actually were last generation who actually could be experienced growing up without a gadget." It was 2009. Until this
Mm.
certain age, that they still
Yeah,
could be so present and playful, and actually not really impacted by all social media. And I watching those kids now. It's really, yes. As much as we can embrace the power of AI and so many nice tools
yes,
that
yeah,
are helpful, but I
yeah,
think the balance, again, this golden balance, where is it, right? And we can,
yeah,
okay, talk about this subject a lot, and we can return a little bit to the beauty of diversity. That's why we actually should be so authentical
mm,
ourselves, really not trying to copy all the time somebody else, right? And in company, when you lead your teams, and especially, can you share a little bit your experience uh, in cultural diversity, because you've been so, I mean, privileged, and of course you
mm,
earned it, you work so hard in across the continent. So can you give some actually real example, maybe, because you know, culture, they call it soft topics, but for me it's not very soft. It's actually the determined topics,
mm,
how people can co-create. Maybe
yeah,
like Netherlands and Australia, it's quite different. Maybe you could share some differences, which actually you really, when you moved to Australia, for you, with
yeah,
your Netherlands brain, was like,
yeah,
wow, this is
yeah.
completely different. And how actually was your approach, how you took it and try to implement, try to learn from it, or it was resistance in the beginning? Maybe you have some couple of stories which can be very interesting for us.
Yeah, it was a big move in a way, and I think that what was some of my learnings out of that are, even cultures have their own things, and I think the Dutch are good in certain things in general,
Hmm.
and I think, and I what I bring myself and what I see that Dutch in general do, they organize.
Mhm.
So we like structure, and I think it's probably driven by the fact that we got a small country. We have to organize, otherwise it's a mess. We have to make
Okay.
sure the water stays out. It's we are very much on making sure that things work, but also have uh, well, it used to be in the old days. It has become a little bit less, but it was very important to hear everybody. Everybody has a voice. Polderen, we call that. So get collaboration. So we listen to everybody, um, and then make a decision. So bring people along. If I when I went to Australia, I think looking backwards, almost like definitely I was bringing something to that business which was more easygoing.
Mhm.
Uh, I had a CFO, for instance, who which is on hindsight I thought was fantastic, but then I need to work it out. Say how does that work? But he came with his pickup to the office with his surfboard on the back, and he was in the office by 8, and but already had been out there surfing, and he was relaxed, and that thing was like a bit like no worries, like the Australians say,
Mhm.
and that was a conflict
Hakuna
because
Matata.
yeah, I could have put that, yeah. So it was almost like me, the Dutchie, who was performance driven, organized, and seeing these guys who were basically, hey, I've been serving in the morning and coming into work, but still have this easygoing flow,
Mhm.
and throughout also their work practice. I'm not saying that they were differently professional, and that was a conflict to me, and I
Mhm.
could add something to that, professionalize it a bit more. But I also learned that I was, by pushing it too hard to a Dutch model, I lost all the Australian vibe in it.
Mhm.
So I had to work hard in order to understand, and then basically mold it differently, because there's a big power in the what the Aussies in general have. It's like this easygoing flow is, and has a very positive understream, which is basically about it will be okay. We'll
Mhm.
get there. It's more entrepreneurial. If it doesn't work this way, we'll take that way. And we'll get there.
Mhm.
Which was very different than what the Dutch were doing, which were more organized, pushing harder for performance.
Mhm.
And I think at the end of the day, if I think I've started to merge it a little bit, basically say what's the minimum which we can use from the Dutch system, so to say, without losing the uniqueness of the Aussie system.
Mhm.
And I guess that's almost like a general lesson everywhere, because cultures, even within Holland, or between countries, or within, it's there's always something which you have to work out, uh, what works and what can be added to make it stronger, without losing something which is in the essence uh, unique. When I went back from Australia to the Netherlands, I started to realize it even more, because I thought in Australia, holy shit, how negative are we in the
Okay.
Netherlands? So I
Yeah.
stopped reading papers, because there was nothing there which was about believing that it will be okay.
Okay.
And I think at the end of the day, I think that's quite important, that you trust that there will always be a solution to something. So
Exactly.
you see that. Um, so my bottom line on that is basically, as I said, try to work out what's good, what's strong. Don't throw away the unique things, and well, start blending and see
Mhm.
what works. It's like a little example. It's like, well, some people believe that if you are decentralized, they go to centralized. I
Mhm.
think it's a bit bullshit. There will be elements of centralized which work. There's a lot of elements of centralized that don't work. So what's the optimum? I call that sometimes minimum rules, maximum creativity. So, but
Mhm.
that's a different model than we tend to have, especially in these days. We're polarizing. Uh,
Mhm.
we go from left to right, but we have to find somewhere in the middle, or whatever space, what works well for us. without throwing away the germs, so to say.
Exactly.
So there's some lessons, perhaps some experiences at least. Yeah.
Very nice. Yes, for me, it's also. I think I do strongly believe it's always about mutual adaptation. It's like when you are coming to another culture, it's not adopt but adapt, but
Mm.
not lose your uniqueness. Like everybody asking me after so many years been living in Scandinavia, like who are you or who are you? I'm always like I'm proud Ukrainian. Been living in Norway. I never said like those 20 years of my lifetime, like half, yeah, I'm living here. So many people, they're like, okay, I'm Norwegian now or I'm Scandinavian. But I'm also trying to understand that all culture has beauties and some flaws, like all people. And if you actually try not to approach that, whether it's bad or worse, but this is different, and maybe you can try to
Yeah, I
learn
agree.
how
Yeah.
to merge it in the most collaborative way,
Yeah.
right? It's the same like um the theme of this world summit Horasis, which you and me we have been participated in Sao Paulo in Brazil. It was the harnessing partner
Collaboration. Yeah.
collaboration, right?
Yeah.
And we've
Yeah.
been like from 55 countries, right?
Yeah.
Almost 1,000 um global leaders. And can you believe if we really gather there and try to compete with each other,
Yeah.
understand that no, this we are better than this and this, and it will be like major
Doesn't work.
fight. But of
Mm.
course we were there to learn from each other, to
Yeah.
harness, to be then you have to be with this beginner open mind, and kind of like you said, with your inner child again, because just children, they're also curious all the time,
Yeah.
right? When they're small, they're not judgmental, like, wow, what is it? Just like, why and what? They're so open. And
Yeah.
as like further our lifetime path, we grow and like our gate of this openness, like really becoming
Mm.
so small that we know it has to be just like that, right?
Yeah.
So
I think that's a fair summary, and I think it goes back to basically being able to open up and having open dialogue and real dialogue, because that's also in Horizons, as you mentioned. I think that was powerful. Once you start having an open conversation, start exchanging with people, it's amazing how much knowledge there is, how much experience there is, insights, and how much you can learn from each other. And it's so stupid sometimes that we seem in the real world we forget about it. I'm not saying that there's many examples, luckily, but sometimes we forget completely to honor each other's strengths and talents.
exactly. So beautiful. And now I would like to go further to our last segment, which is very special, important topic for me, because um, this is the new emerging part of diversity, not new from the standpoint that it just appeared or rise. It just we are more and more openly talking about this. And you mentioned already it's neurodiversity or cognitive diversity or diversity of our brain, how we perceive
Mhm.
our world. And I'm trying to um, raise awareness and be passionate advocate for having this topic not from the deficit based model, because we know it's still a lot of taboo and stigmatization, stereotypes, biases, especially
Mm.
towards neurodiversity. And many people maybe are not familiar with this term, which was coined actually by Judy Singer in 1980 in Australia.
Mhm.
So but in recent years, I'm so happy to understand that I can see the growing awareness about around neurodiversity and understanding that our brains work in different diversified way. But I'm trying to advocate that we should equally value this beauty, this diversity. So how do you view the role of neurodiversity in modern society, in modern workplaces? What's your opinion about that?
Well, I think honestly, I think it's something which also by having this chat, but also chats with you earlier, I think it's you're raising awareness for this in a big way, which is helps me because I value diversity, and I've given some examples in terms of what my lessons are. But also, I'm triggered by our discussions, but also in last time when we were in the UK, uh, that there's so much more we can do in order to give this space,
Mm-hmm.
where we can facilitate it to blossom more. And yes, what I do is I look, as I explained, I say I'll definitely try to work out where people are in their strength, um, building teams that are complementary to each other, having different skills, or putting people at tasks where they can flourish. And at the same time, I realized with the Embassy of the Future, for instance, that gosh, there's so much more I can do.
Mm-hmm.
Having these types of chat, expressing what my experiences are with and my lessons learned, and helps perhaps others to well, be more open about their situation, and be clear about what they need in order to flourish. And my intention is definitely, and that's good to have this podcast. I can send it out and say, hey, should we talk about this more? Because I'm pretty sure I'm not touching everybody on this.
Mm-hmm.
We talked in the UK. We talked about the offices, which are created in such a way that people, that the spaces or the sounds or whatever they need in order to flourish are adapted. And I thought that was brilliant what Kay was talking about. If I just look at my oldest daughter, she can be oversensitive. They're all very sensitive individuals, and she can have too many stimulus, and
Mm-hmm.
she very consciously uh, goes away and doesn't go into a shopping mall. And that was the experience we had last week. And they said, "Oh, I need to have some time." Just starts reading a book on the side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But she's also working in an office. So how do you do that in the office? Sometimes I just go out for a walk. Well, and that to me is something like, hey, we as leaders, so to say, we should facilitate this more. We should make it a topic what people can discuss, rather than saying, hey, I'm the odd one. I'm not fitting the box, which she sometimes feels. She struggles to express that at work, because she thinks that, not sure how that will fit in this competitive environment. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And so she takes actions, luckily, so she's aware, but it should be normal in that environment as well. And I, as a leader for a business, or I could probably inspire people to be more open about that, and to see what their needs are and facilitate that. So I think it comes back. So what we can do is a bit of conscious leadership, being aware of it and do something with it. And yeah, I can do more of that. I'd love to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's think embracing neurodiverse strengths, creativity, and then you should have like more focused um, attention towards people. And sometimes it's actually really not talking about big adjustments, just actually asking a person, do you
Mm.
need any kind of adjustment, and do you need just to give um, the sign of curiosity, radical curiosity, and actually not just acceptance, but that you are honestly curious, not like from the judgmental points, like you said. It's already gives so much liberation for a person like me, for example, that
Yeah.
for me it could be like, wow, why, how I have to defeat myself, how I always should fit in this mold, always anxiety, what can be thought about me. But just if a person even ask and give the validation that it's totally okay for you to be yourself, and we actually do appreciate you for yourself, how you
Yeah.
are, and maybe you need a little bit of adjustment sometimes, really just validation and know that I am a person like this. So it
Mm.
sometimes it's actually more than enough. And then it's
Yeah.
about like mutual respect. And yeah, I think we need uh, try to find like the middle way, that it's two-way street between neurotypical, neurodivergent people, that it's not like all the time that neurodivergent people should try to fit in, because we really propel the society. We think differently, we're so creative, but sometimes for the services communities we feel we don't fit in. We
Hmm.
propel a lot, but we don't fit in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's kind of dilemma. But
Yeah, which on the other side is true as well. It could be that if by having the conversations you understand that you don't fit while you're playing, and that,
mhm,
and that and but I think that's in general is a theme and an important theme for everybody is basically say, okay, can you be authentic, respect
mhm,
whatever
mhm.
authenticity means, and what do you want, what do you feel, and where are you at your best, and having that discussion is very different than majority of today's society. Uh,
Exactly.
but it's I believe that it's the discussion we should have, because at the end of the day, that goes back that I guess where we all in one way or the other way were why we're here and get to our best.
Yeah.
So
And I like
we
very
don't
much.
we don't fit in boxes. Boxes work because it become more efficient, but
Yeah.
only to a certain level. And we need to go back to how do we get the best out of people? How do you get the best out of yourself?
And then we again can actually come to the turning point that we've started, that it's about being present listener, and actually sometimes to be a good leader, really to be observer, right?
Mm.
Listener and observer, and be able and open to discuss some innovations which actually maybe
Mm.
even like from the your one point of view, like why we should do that, but actually to be like again take and be in connection with your inner child and self-development, that we are
Mm.
changing all the time, every single day. Everything is impermanent, everything is in motion, right?
Mm.
Everything is evolving so fast, especially
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
And we have to also evolve and develop, and it's everything happens actually in togetherness, in co-togetherness. We impact each other all the time.
yeah.
So thank you so much for your uh, very impactful insights. And my always last question, I'm actually not at my usually student, I'm at my workshop, I don't have this small Aladdin lamp, but if we can manifest or imagine, I am calling her my vice president, she is always so sustainable, tough and helpful. It's a small pink Aladdin lamp, and then I'm asking why I rap in my show all of my guests that this my vice president would like to help as many guests as possible. Maybe we cannot grant three wishes, but one wish totally in. And if you could imagine that I'm holding now very
Yeah,
beautiful pink Aladdin lamp, which
yeah,
is the true tougher worker, and would
yeah.
like to fulfill your wish. So, what kind of wish that would be?
Um, my wish would be that we can all stay close to our gut, childhood, whatever phase we are in life. I have two wishes, and in the theme of this podcast, I would say I wish that neurodiversity is the norm.
Wow, beautiful, impactful. And I'm totally then into this wish that we can embrace neurodiversity as much as biodiversity. And we know to
Absolutely.
survive and thrive, we have to have biodiversity as much as we have to have neurodiversity, right?
Yeah.
So, Eugene, thank you so, so much. Again, it was really pleasure to have you here. Your journey, both personal and professional, it's such a powerful reminder that conscious leadership, it's not just about results, about people, purpose, growth, connection.
Mm.
You've shown how embracing diversity in all its forms can help create teams and environments and organizations that more human, more innovative, more sustainable. Thank you again so, so much. It's been a really pleasure reflecting on all these topics together with you. And I can just stress that I also truly believe that diversity of thoughts, culture, neurodiversity, and diversity of personalities is great strengths that we or any leaders can embrace in,
Mm.
or in organizations. And to my listeners, our listeners, thank you for all for staying with us, listening with us. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to spread, share, and that this beautiful conversation can keep going, because together, just together, through understanding and inclusion, we can make this world and our lives better for everyone. So until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep changing the game. And if you have any last comments, so please, stage is yours.
Now, I think it was a pleasure to be and to have this discussion, conversation with you, Valeria. Thanks for giving me the opportunity and also to raise my own awareness further. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to make a lot of diversified and beautiful changes, co-creating with you both through
Ah,
our embassy of the future, our friendship, Horaces, and many more rainbow of diverse opportunities. Bye bye from
new
Norway
journey
and
to
from,
start.
and I wish all of you stay safe, stay conscious, and the most important, be yourself. Bye.
Absolutely. Thank you.